Welcome back. We were treated to yet another round of winter to kick off our spring, go figure, but we are going to be looking at some more snow. And of course, even though it is not too bad in Mankato, as we can see, those roads fairly clear, but they are still wet, so it could be some slick spots, especially as we continue later on into today. But despite Mankato not really getting a whole lot of snow, some of our neighbors to the north and towards the east do have a little bit more. So like we mentioned a little bit earlier, if you are traveling around the area, be mindful that some of these other cities could have quite a bit more snow than what we have here in the Mankato region. As you can see right on satellite, we are cleared out now as far as that snow. We could see a couple of flurries here and there throughout the rest of the day, but in general, we're going to be remaining dry. However, that system pushing further out towards the southeast, still dropping a decent amount of snow in that area. We'll also start to see a little bit more sunshine later on this afternoon, but keep in mind all that's going to do is melt that snow, which will then wind up refreezing tonight. So even tomorrow morning, be sure to leave a little bit of extra time to get to where you need to go. We had a lot of accidents this morning, and hopefully we'll be able to mitigate that as we get into tomorrow morning. Temperatures around the area warming up into the lower 30s. We'll see highs today reaching kind of right at that freezing point at 32 degrees. So keep in mind, again, I can't stress it enough that ice on the roads is very much a possibility. So you're not going to want to let your guard down quite yet. So then moving into the second phase of this kind of wintry weekend that we're tracking, we already have a winter storm watch in effect for just about all of our counties. This is going into effect later in the day on Sunday and going into Monday, potentially even into Tuesday. We are going to be looking at this potentially impactful system. Like we've been saying, we've been tracking this very, very closely over the last couple of days. We have the potential for this to be a major winter storm, especially some of the higher snowfall totals that we've seen so far this year. I know that's not saying a whole lot, but especially with the lack of snow that we've had, it's very important to be taking this seriously, as it's almost kind of like starting winter at the very beginning all over again. We'll likely see a mix of all of these precipitation types, very strong winds possible with this as well. Likely that a lot of travel could be impacted with this. We are looking at the potential for over 6 inches of snow for a lot of us, and even some places seeing closer to a foot, if not even more. There'll likely be some bands of that, but keep in mind, still a ways away. We have a couple of days to really work out the details of this system. So very, very important to be keeping an eye on that forecast, especially if you have any weekend plans that could be impacted by the less than ideal travel conditions. Good news is, though, we need that moisture, and we will be seeing a decent amount of it heading into this weekend. Let's track this out. Again, remember, this will likely change in the next couple of days as this system continues to shift and change directions. Later in the day, Saturday, is when we'll probably start to see some of that snow falling overnight into our Sunday. Most of our Sunday looking pretty snowy. We'll be seeing some snow throughout the day. And then this is where a lot of the question marks really come into play with this forecast. Well, with those temperatures warming, we'll likely see a lot of that snow transition into a rain or a mix of that rain and snow. And a lot of what we're looking at as far as snow totals is going to be very dependent on at what point we see this change over to rain. If we see it change over a little bit earlier, we'll likely see a little bit less snow. But keep in mind also, with those temperatures dipping back into those lower temperatures that evening, we could likely see a lot of ice. So be prepared for some travel impacts starting off this upcoming work week. Other than that, though, keep an eye on that forecast, and of course we'll continue to provide those updates as we get a little bit closer to it. We'll be right back.